5:20 on a Wednesday as we welcome in our good friend Ryan Rothstein at Wise Rise, Sports Radio WIP on-air host, and of course the host of the Philadelphia Citycast presented by Bet Rivers and VSiN Live. Give them a follow on Twitter at Wise Rise. What's going on, my friend?
How we doing, sir?
I'm still giddy over the Giants firing of Joe Judge, but now I've kind of focused and turn my attention to these wildcard games on Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. So that's where we're at.
Yeah, the Joe Judge era. Not much of an era.
No, really well. You know, it goes out with a whimper, too. At least with Chip Kelly, they won, 10 games and went to the playoffs, ultimately losing to the Saints. The defense let them down late in that one. But at least with Chip Kelly, you had a little bit of bang for your buck. With Joe Judge, it was absolutely nothing. And by the way, did you hear how he goes out? He turns around, he calls his secretary and says, I've been relieved of my duties. Can you do me a favor and contact all the assistant coaches and let them know?
Wow. That's apropos, is it not?
It's gutless is what it is. All right, let's start with this Tampa Bay and Eagles game. I mentioned that you tweeted out where the money was being played on this one. Do you think this game will close any lower than where we're at right now, sitting at 8.5? Can you see this game close? Can it be bet down to 8, or can you see this line going up to 9.5?
It's a good question. Listen, we're still early in the week here, so you had to. This was probably predictable, right? Like early in the week here, you're going to just see a lot of Tampa Bay money coming in, just overall wagers coming in on the Tampa Bay Bucks. I would guess that more Philadelphia money / wagers will be coming in as we get closer to kickoff, but I don't think it's going to be enough to significantly move this the other way. I think this is going to settle in right around where it's at. I mean, maybe we see it get ticked down to 8 as we get closer to kickoff, but I'll be surprised if this gets anywhere other than between 8 to 9. I think 8.5 is where it makes sense and where it's going to end up being when it's all said and done.
If it gets bet down to 6, it's a good potential tease play to drop it down to 2, and then whether you want to do something with the total or bookend, it would say, William Hill, who was on earlier, said, it could be a nice little play to bookend with Cincinnati.
Oh, absolutely. I just would be borderline floored if this moves from 8.5 to 6, even in the next 3-4 days. I just don't see that type of movement.
No, nor do I. The Eagles cover this number?
I think they can, Q. I really think they can. And, I think when you look at this game at the surface of it, right, like you say, well, Tampa Bay, right? The Eagles, nice story, overachieves, They're here. They shouldn't be here, yada, yada, yada. But when I started to just dive deep into this matchup here, as I'm doing my Citycast shows this week thus far, you start to see a path. Now, listen, I'm going to acknowledge this is a tall task for the Philadelphia Eagles. They deserve to be 8.5, 9-point underdogs. This is going to be a really tough challenge for them. But if we have to try and say, well, give me the path. All right, I'll give it to you. You look at Tampa Bay, and the first thing you see is, man, that run defense and that defense overall, that front seven, and that's all true, but not necessarily against the run. The past 8 weeks, they've been giving up almost 5 yards per carry on the ground, and they have been even worse against mobile quarterbacks over the past 8-9 weeks of the regular season. They're 31st, actually, in the NFL over the past 8 weeks against the run. They are extremely short-handed. Now, it's still Tom Brady. It's still the Super Bowl defending champs. I get it. No Chris Godwin, no A.D.
Nope.
Leonard Fournette is looking like he's going to play, but what version of himself are we going to get? Barrett is going to possibly play. What version of him are we going to get? JPP is another one. Levante David, their best linebacker, he's on the fence. So those guys might not play. If they do play, they're questionable. You can see a path, and Jalen Hurts had an opportunity to rest. Listen, if the Eagles are able to go in there and run for 200 yards plus, Jalen's able to get close to 100 yards on the ground himself. They take care of the football. I don't think it's crazy if we see a game that at the very least the Eagles keep it competitive and cover this big number.
Yeah, I think weather's going to be a factor. If it rains, again, you got to worry about a slippery, a wet ball there. And again, young quarterback who we've seen sometimes will just find himself rolling out of the pocket to his right and making that bad throw. So that's something to watch out for. But I think they have to establish early and often the ground game. And if they can get to their 4.5-yard mark, I mean, that sets up short and second. You can be pretty creative. Now, they were held under 100 yards the last time, 19 carries between Hurts and Sanders in that first game that they lost at Tampa 28-22. I think, if anything, the Tampa Bay Bucks know I think the Eagles are going to come in first and foremost, try to run the ball. Now, with that being said, do they stack the box and dare Jalen Hurts to kind of beat them? I can see him scrambling. I can see his legs actually being an X factor in this one, not his arm.
Yes, you hit the nail on the head. I mean, that's what I was trying to get at there a minute ago. Listen, if Jalen Hurts, this is figure out a way to win. Forget his future. Forget, passing, whatever. If you're trying to win this game, if you're trying to be competitive, Jalen's going to have to do extraordinary things with his legs. And that's why I said it. I think you're right. If he's able to scramble around, make some plays, if he's able to get close to 100 yards rushing, even 75 to 100 range, make some plays out of the pocket, then we may have something here if we're talking on the Eagles side of the fence from covering or, hell, even an outright win. I don't think it's that far-fetched as it seems.
Am I foolish to think San Francisco can go into Dallas on the road with Garoppolo and company and win this game outright?
No. It's one of my favorite plays. I love San Francisco, and at Bet Rivers, at least, yesterday it was a 3-point line. I woke up this morning, it's ticked up to 3.5. Excuse me, I like that even more. San Francisco plus 3.5, and I think, listen, a lot of these games this week, I think you can dabble, take a chance with the underdog money line, and I think this game is probably the leader in the clubhouse from that aspect.
Would you do anything with the Pats and the Bills? That's my look, but don't touch. Same with Kansas City and Pittsburgh.
I mean, I'm going to be honest. I'm probably going to be betting all of these games recreationally because it's just like that March Madness first couple of days feel. But there's obviously tiers to this, right? Like, and the Patriots-Bills game is probably not one of my better games to give you a pick, but I'm not taking the Patriots here. This is a game where the Bills. Now, give me your thought on this. Yeah. This is how I look at the Bills right now, Q. They remind me of the Chiefs. I think it's 2 years ago where they had a really disappointing year. We expected a lot from them in the regular season. They didn't deliver. But they're in the playoffs now, and they're starting off with a home game. Bills Mafia is going to be absolutely nuts. And I just say, all right, let's hit the reset for a second. Bills have a playoff game at home. What were our expectations going into the year for them? In a completely wide-open AFC, I could see the Bills. We could be talking about the Bills in the Super Bowl this year. I love the Bills in this game.
Really? Yeah. I'm an Allen fan. They're such a enigma to me. And it's a good parallel.
But everyone is, Q.
Yeah,
when you say that for the most part?
Yeah, but I think I've watched enough where their offense sometimes just goes south for the day.
Mm-hmm.
It's Belichick. But see, this is why I steer clear. Because you got a rookie quarterback going on the road for the first time.
Yep.
And when I look at those matchups, I go quarterback to quarterback. So, yeah, I would give the edge to Josh Allen and the Bills. And I think it's a game that, I know it's foolish to say it's a playoff game. Yeah, you have to have it. But I just think from a franchise standpoint, they have this bitter taste in their mouth where they know what they could have done over the last several years. I just don't like the game, to be quite honest with you. That's I'm
understood.
I'm just not going to make a play. Just like Pittsburgh and Kansas City. That's a high line for a playoff game, man. That's extremely high. For an NFL playoff game?
It's absurd. It's absurd. And I heard I listened to a good part of your show today on and off, and I caught you with Will for a few minutes, and you were talking about this matchup, and you're saying, you're not touching it. You probably lean Steelers. And I mean Chiefs, excuse me. And I get all of that. And for me, I am not telling anyone to go run to the counter to bet this game. This is a game that, for a lot of reasons, you don't really want to go and touch. But I'll probably sprinkle for fun. a small unit on the Steelers, and for a very poor reasoning, and I'll give it to you quickly, but Big Ben in his last game, Hall of Fame coach in Mike Tomlin, and they're going to have to do something. They're going to have to do a fake punt. They're going to have to do an onside kick. And if they can get weird and convert one of those, like, give me 14 points, essentially, with Pittsburgh to at least figure out a way to cover. That's how I'm looking at it, but I'm not saying that with a load of confidence.
So I've wavered. In the beginning of the week, I actually was liking the Pittsburgh Steelers, but then I kept going back and digging and digging and digging, and Big Ben's just, he's shot. He's done, man. He's absolutely done. Now, if you're saying fake punt, fake field goal, try to steal possession, turn 3 into 7, get your 14-17, I still see Kansas City putting up 38 points. Like, to me, this has the makings of 38-10, 38-13. And I've talked myself out of it. I'm okay with doing that. But that's just where I'm at with that game. Arizona and the Rams, here we go, your guy. I've been hammering this home to the listening audience. You know, is there any other quarterback under the microscope going into the playoffs more than Matthew Stafford?
Absolutely not.
And
no.
with that,
he's the guy.
I'm going with the Rams.
Why, Q? Why?
I'm going to tell you why. Because I think their weapons with Beckham and Higbee and Cooper, Kupp, I think that's a bad matchup for Arizona. And I think if Arizona falls behind in this game 17-3, I think it's going to get ugly. I think Murray, who I'm a big fan of as well, as you know, they're going to have to. What happens is he's got to throw them back in this game, right? They can't go back down 14 early or 13 early and try to reestablish the ground game with Connor. I just don't see that happening. I think it plays in the Rams' hands. And maybe this is wishful thinking, but I want Stafford to go out 20 of 25, 286 for 3 touchdowns and get the win to quiet some people.
Yeah, I don't know who those people are.
That's my rationale. That's what I'm thinking.
No, listen, it's fair. I mean, more than fair. I mean, very well said. I'm, as you know, I'm not sold on Stafford, and if you're giving me 4 in a game where the Cardinals have a ton of talent, I know the Kingsbury narrative. I know even the Kyler Murray narrative, and the Cardinals have had a roller coaster ride of a year themselves. But I'll take the 4 with the Cardinals. I'm not sold on Stafford. I think this can easily come down to a field goal either way, and fine, if it falls in the Rams' favor and it's like a 27-24, similar to the 49ers matchup, fine, but that's a Cardinals cover, and I'll take my chances with the 4 against the shaky Stafford.
See, I might turn around, tease the number to the Rams +2, bump tease down the total to, what are we looking at, 49, 43, and then play the over on it.
I don't love teasing through, 0 there. Yeah. If anything, to go off of my Cardinals pick, I would tease the Cardinals up to 10.
Yeah. That's not. Yeah, I mean I might hedge and just sprinkle a couple units on the side for the total. Both times they played this year, it's gone over. They're good for like a 30-23 type of game. I just, man, if Arizona was at home, I would jump on the Rams because Arizona stinks at home. And they got a good road record. Don't get me wrong, 8-1 on the road. These two teams, there's familiarity, just like the Buffalo Bills and the New England game. I think you already know what you got in this game, right? In these games, respectively. My point is, these two are like two familiar boxers that understand each other's styles. The other game, great point with Pittsburgh stealing a possession. The Eagles running the football. Cincinnati, I just think they're due for a playoff win. It's right there for them. And then you got that X-Factor game in the 49ers where it seems like everyone is jumping on the 49ers, which Will brought up a really good point. It was almost like Alabama and Georgia. Saban underdog with the points, Alabama, and then look what happens. Georgia wins the game.
Yeah, I can't compare the 49ers to Bama, but I get his point. I mean, the Bengals game that number seems to be perfect from the odds makers. Like, I like Cincinnati to win. If you want to do like a money line 2-team parlay or something, throw Bengals money line in there. If not, I don't know, maybe it's worth sprinkling on Raiders with the points. You look at this slate, Q. What's your game what's your best bet? One game, one pick. What is it?
It's a great question. My bet, the play that I'm gearing towards, I'm leaning towards, would be teasing Cincinnati and Tampa.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, tease them both down.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with the 2.5, as I mentioned. And then I'm in essence getting a point. Cincinnati just win the game outright. And I'm going to back to play with the 49ers. I mean, it's no secret. I'll make the pick on Friday to make it official at 5:45. But I think the 49ers are a real live dog, man. And I think that if they can run the football, if you can get a couple turnovers, which is a rarity, I get it. But I've seen enough where Dallas's offense sometimes just totally disappears. Now, people might be saying, well, wait a second. You're going to put money up on Jimmy Garoppolo? Not necessarily, man, because I don't think this is a game where he's thrown the ball 35 times. I just don't.
When does he ever,
Well, that's exactly correct. If you go back a couple years ago, I think he threw it 6 times when they beat the Packers, and they ran all over the place. So, I mean, the game against the Rams, where he looked, horrible, he threw 32 times, 23 for 32, made a couple big throws, though, after the picks for 316 yards. So, they got to run the ball with Mitchell, and they got to get Kittle involved, and they got to get a couple turnovers. Samuel's a really, there's your other X factor, too, man. Deebo Samuel. He's a flat-out player, man. He, catching the ball, rushing, receiving. Maybe they get a trick play in there.
He's a stud.
Yeah,
and Brandon Ayuk has had a hell of a year for them, too.
Yep. He's a good player, man. My buddy's high on him. My buddy's been talking him up for a while. He had 6 for 107 on 7 targets against the Rams. I think I like San Francisco. I'm going to tease those other 2 games, as I mentioned. I don't know. I might sprinkle something on Kansas City. I get this sense that it's going to be like a 35-10 type of game.
All signs, both on paper, on tape, whatever, all signs point to that, Q, but I can just, and this is a really crappy reason, as I said before, but I can just see us on Monday or Tuesday, or this conversation with me and you next week, give Big Ben credit, give Mike Tomlin credit. They kept it under 10 points. Way to go out, Big Ben. Made it competitive. I can just see that. It's a crappy reason, but I can just see that for some weird reason.
Yeah, man. Hey, who do you? Any surprises with these coaches getting fired before I let you get out of here? Down in Miami, Flores. I don't understand. Dude, he had a really crappy hand that was dealt to him this year, and I think he made, dog poop in the birthday cake. He had injuries. Devontae Parker was out. He never had a full arsenal at any point this year, and I think they massively overachieved this year. I think that should have been a 5 or 6 win team at best, and they finished above 500. Something was going on behind the scenes, because that just didn't really seem to make sense to me. Yeah, and that quarterback stinks.
He stinks.
I mean, I like him as a guy, right? But that kid can't play. It's unfortunate. And, think about this, right? That number hit precisely. Their win total was 9. They finished 9-8, and that's after, what were they, 1-7, and then they won 7 in a row to get to 8-7. And then lost. They got blown out by Tennessee. So, yeah, Flores is, not making him out to be Vince Lombardi, but you're right. I mean, he's, his name.
He had a nice year.
Yeah, no doubt. His name's going to float around. Coach of the year. Right now in the NFL, I'm leaning towards Mike Vrabel because they lost Derrick Henry.
I couldn't agree with you more. I don't know how you don't give it to Vrabel.
And what about MVP?
That seems to be Rodgers' award in every sense. I don't know how you don't give it to Rodgers unless it's just the extracurricular stuff comes back to bite him, which would be an absolute travesty that I would massively disagree with. But yeah, it seems like it's Rodgers. I do want to ask you this before we go. The Super Bowl odds.
Yeah.
I think there's some opportunity here because, one, I think it's wide open in general, and I think it's even more wide open on the AFC side of things here.
No, the AFC is definitely wide open, and I'll give you two that I like, and I'll pull it up real quick. I think Bet Rivers posted this. Packers right now are plus 350. The Chiefs are at plus 425. I told everyone when they were, 3-4, 4-5, play them for the AFC West, play them for coming out of the AFC, which I did. I love the Titans at plus 850.
Yep. Yeah, I love the Titans. I'm with you on plus 850. I mean, they're the number one seed. They have the fifth or sixth best odds to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
In a toss-up conference. I'll take the plus 850. I even, if we're looking for value and just maybe, a couple breaks, I like Cincinnati 18-1. I like Arizona at 25-1, and I like San Francisco at 25-1.
Yeah, and then you got Philly at plus 6,000, and the Steelers at 80-1. Hey, real quick, let me just go back to the MVP conversation before I let you get out of here. You just glossed over what Brady's done.
Sorry. Yeah. Listen, Brady's led the league in passing yards and touchdowns, right?
I think Tom Brady wins the MVP.
Really?
Yeah.
Why? You just think you think he's had a better year, or do you think the other stuff factors in?
I don't always think it's no. First of all, that reporter is a clown. That's a jerk. Because you've gotten guys worse in the Hall of Fame and won awards before. So that means nothing to me. I mean, that's just who Aaron Rodgers is. To come out and sit there and say, I'm not going to bet for this guy because of X, Y, and Z, he's not a good dude. No, take away his ability to vote from this day forward. No, I just think I look at Brady's advanced age, man, and the numbers that he puts up. I don't know, man. It's remarkable. This is not an indictment. This can be like we always give it to Aaron Rodgers. We gave it to Michael Jordan. Give it to Karl Malone this year. I don't know. I think Brady, believe it or not, is kind of the sentimental favorite. As crazy as that sounds. And his numbers were off the charts.
Yeah, but are you using that reasoning for or against him? Because I think you bring up a good point as to why he's not going to get it.
Well, see, I would equate Rodgers to Jordan, right?
Yeah.
And we'll give it to Karl Malone. And Karl Malone had a very good year, but was it on par with Jordan? I think sentiment plays in this, and that's why I think Brady gets it. Did he have a better year than Aaron Rodgers? Statistically, sure. Is he a better quarterback right now than Aaron Rodgers? Probably not. But I'm not trying to contradict myself. I just think the sentiment, and I think age is a factor, man. I really do. I think people are going to look at Tom Brady and say, man, this is ridiculous what this guy is doing. Plus, and he lost some of his players, too. I mean,
he's lost a lot of his guys, yeah.
I think you got to factor that in, and I always look at how they closed the season. They won 3 in a row. They put up 41 against a bad Panthers team. They kind of got the offense clicking again. They were 13-4, mind you. They had a hell of a season. How do you dispute 43 touchdowns, 5,300 yards, and only 12 picks?
It's an MVP year. I mean, him and Rodgers are right there. It's neck and neck. I think there's a good argument for both. I give the edge to Rodgers, but hey, you can still bet on it. Bet Rivers has Brady right now at 4-1.
Hey, listen, I won't scream bloody murder if Rodgers wins it. I mean, that's
right.
In any other year, if they don't have a big year, then you can make a case for a player like Cooper Kupp. But, the quarterbacks, they touch the ball the most, man. That's a sexy position. That's why typically it's so rare that you see a other position other than the quarterback win the MVP.
Maybe they should put Cooper Kupp at quarterback, put him under center so they don't have Stafford blow the ear for him.
No, I mean, that's
I know, I'm
Stafford. I was going to say maybe we can sign him to be quarterback for the Giants next year. All right, everyone give Ryan a follow at Wise Rye. When are you going to be on IP, and where are we looking for some guest spots this week? Where are you going to be at?
Well, I'm on Danny Burke. I'm on Rush Hour coming up next, so stay tuned for that. 6:15, I'll be jumping on with Danny. And Citycast every day this week, and WIP I'm on Saturday and Sunday late. So tune in for that. We'll obviously be recapping a lot of this Eagles-Bucks game and whatever else shenanigans we decide to come up with.
All right, pal. Good stuff as always. I appreciate it. Giambrone.
Thanks, man.
All right, you got it. There you have it, my guy, Ryan Rothstein. Good stuff. Quick timeout, 5:43.